Hello there. Welcome to the Miss Ali Makes podcast. So this is a little bit of a different episode today, but nonetheless we are on episode 9. So a big welcome. I can't actually believe that I keep sitting in this same blinking spot, and obviously there's like bugs everywhere because every time I record I get like attacked by bugs, but I still sit here most weeks and podcast from this position. So aren't I a ding dong? Anyway, like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode today. I was so inspired by a little mini episode that my amazing friend Levi from WTF Knitting put together this week. I was literally watching the video almost with tears in my eyes, like it invoked that much movement in my heart. And so I was so moved. I'm like, right, I'm going to do an episode where I talk about what yarn means to me. So I am also going to put this out there as a challenge for anybody else that podcasts, or even if you just want to make a video specifically talking about what yarn means to you. That would be so great, because there was so many things that Levi said that just resonated in my heart with me, and I was just overcome with emotion. And I had actually planned on doing a video during the week where I was talking a little bit about my Fibrefest trip last weekend with my family, and just how that was, I wasn't actually meant to go, and it was, blah 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 blah. But so I thought, well, I'm gonna smoosh both of these subjects together, because I really do feel like they go hand in hand with each other. So welcome, like I said, a big happy welcome. This is a knitting podcast. I am going to be chatting more about what yarn means to me in this episode, and I'm going to do a little chit chat about my very first Fibre Festival visit, which took place last weekend. And I did get a few treats, of course, when you go to a yarny festival, but I'm going to chat a little bit more about that too. So I am Ali, and I would like to welcome everyone that is returning to my channel. I have had quite a few new subscribers. I'm really excited actually, because I feel like each time I podcast, I am still getting new subscribers, which is awesome. So a big welcome to anyone that's new to my channel, and a big happy hello to anybody that is returning. It is so lovely to get to spend a little bit of time with you, and I know that there are so many other great podcasters out there, so it's very special that you have taken the time to spend some crafty time with me. So I am your host, I am Ali, and yes, if you have recognised the accent, I am coming to you from Australia. I live on the East Coast, where I live with my amazing husband and our 3 superstar kiddos and our 2 dogs, which sometimes make a little entrance in the back here or here when I am podcasting. So I do apologise if that happens today, but hey, it's real life. So like I mentioned before, I was watching Levi's short episode on his podcast, on his channel, this week. I will actually link that video in the description box below. If you have not already gone and watched it, I really encourage you to do that, because it is so incredible. And the topic of the video was, what does yarn mean to me? And it got me thinking, because as Levi was going through what some of the things that yarn means for him, I really resonated, and I wanted to share my sort of top 4. How about we do that? Top 4 things that yarn means to me. Number 1, it absolutely brings me happiness. I agreed 100%, 110% with Levi that there's something so wonderful about coming across a skein of yarn that just speaks to you. The colours invoke a memory, or the color way of the yarn, so the name of the yarn might just speak to you, and you just may have to buy it. And also the other part of that is actually the products that we knit or crochet from that skein of yarn, what that does for us. And for me, it is all of those things. I have spent a lot of time previously doing all sorts of crafting, and I actually ran a very successful quilting sewing brand business, and I authored a book, and so I've spent a lot of time around different colors, and I think that different colors and patterns and things work together really well. And it's not necessarily a skill that you can teach, how to mix colors. I have taught a lot of quilting classes and sewing classes, and I know that that's probably the single most frustration that people have had in my classes, that they're just not really sure how to mix and match colors. And I have been blessed with the skill of really being able to put colors and patterns together and watch the colors play together and come to life. And so for me, knitting and so buying beautiful indie dyed yarn is an extension of that, because you really do get to put colors together, you watch colors come together in different skeins of yarn, and that of course lights up your heart, and you just have that feeling of happiness and the warmth that comes from when you are creative and you do. It's almost like, as a creative thinker, as a creative soul, it's like your heart, it's almost like fireworks. I guess that's how I describe it. Fireworks, when you just go, yes, that's totally what I wanted. That was the look I was going for. That's the color that I needed. That's what I wanted to use to make the project. So for me, yarn, and I guess, my background of sewing and quilting and color play sort of all dance together. So like I said, that's number one for me. Number two is absolutely, wholeheartedly, it's belonging. It's belonging to a community. I agreed so much with Levi. I had tears, and I'll try very hard not to cry today, because obviously you didn't come here to watch me cry. But the community, and being part of a community of people that have your back. So I have been 100% blown away with the people that I have met. The knitting and yarny community are amazing, and they are so willing to share their expertise. They also really invest in all other areas of your life as well, not just knitting projects and things, but overall, really taking the time to care and want the best for you. So that's a real bonus. And I have mentioned before in a previous episode, I don't really live near any knitting groups that I want to be part of. And so for me, podcasting is a way, absolutely, to communicate and to interact with the whole world as a knitting community, which is amazing, because obviously, like I said, I'm coming to you from Australia. And so, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You could be in America asleep right now, but by the time this comes up on YouTube, I'll be asleep and you'll be awake watching it, and it'll be daylight for you. And so there's that sense of community that comes because I guess we have with technology, with things like the internet, with YouTube, with Ravelry, with online forums, all sorts of things like that, Instagram, we're able to connect together as a community, and that's really amazing. I don't know about you, but there's something so lovely about finding other souls like you all over the world that love to craft and love to knit, and and there's like a bit of a common bond that pulls everyone together. And I have mentioned, like I said, that we, myself and Melissa from Honeybee Knits and Levi from WTF Knitting, we have regular knit nights where we will Skype and chat and get together, and it is just so lovely. It really fills my heart with happiness. So absolutely number 2 for me is the community that comes from, you know, loving yarn, from knitting and crochet and all of those sorts of things. So number 3 for me is definitely getting to play with colour. And I think, like I said, that sort of comes back a little bit with, you know, flies. Seriously, we are in Australia, and it's getting sunny. I mean, it's quite warm today, and I do look a little bit like a hot mess, but you know what? I have got a little bit of time this afternoon, so I thought I'm just going to get this out because it's something that is really close to my heart and has really invoked feelings of that I really wanted to, you know, put my little 5 cents on what yarn means to me. So, yeah, number 3 is definitely being able to colour play, and again, it's all about, it's such a sensory thing, isn't it? You know, yarning and knitting and crochet and creating as a rule probably is such a sense evoking thing. It's a real sensory thing, and it really makes you feel something. It really brings out the best, you know, in us, and I just really love it. Yeah, so colour play, getting to discovering different yarns is always so amazing, and I love it. And it is such a sensory thing of actually, you know, touching the yarn against your skin and how that feels. And number 4 for me is that it just really helps me with my mental health and my anxiety. I know Levi touched on it in his episode, and I absolutely second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th I agree. I suffer really terribly with anxiety, and for example, last Sunday I had a terrible anxiety attack where it was just really terrible. I felt very isolated, and that's often what anxiety does for me. I feel very isolated and like pull back from, you know, from community. And so through knitting and through yarning and because of, you know, I've made these amazing connections with people all over the world, that sort of really allows us to communicate and to it removes the isolation that often happens when you do feel anxious. And I am a very good master at masking how I feel, and if you were to run into me in the street and you asked me how I was, I would just be like, yep, great, thanks, no worries, when really I could be an absolute mess inside. And I just am a really good actress, I guess, in that I wear this mask, and you know, people that are close to me are often so surprised when I say to them that I do have anxiety and what that looks like, because they just don't see it, I suppose. And I think that is the thing about mental illness, isn't it? That it is invisible. It has been referred to a lot as an invisible illness, and it really is, because you don't know what people are actually feeling on the inside. And I guess I always encourage people around me, you know, to be kind, because you don't actually know what battle is going on for, you know, the person just next door to you. So yeah, so last Sunday was pretty, gosh, this is terrible. Mental note, I'm going to have to move to a different spot next week, because now I'm convinced. You know how it's like if someone says that they've got something on them, you know, like you just feel like it's crawling all over you now for the next like 25 hours. Sorry guys. So yeah, like I said, last Sunday was a little bit of a write-off, really anxious, and I was meant to go and actually lead worship as part of my ministry thing, and I just couldn't do it. I just could not actually do it. So I am thankful for people that show grace to me when I, at the last minute, go, no, I can't do whatever it is that I'm doing. because I must say that it is at times very difficult to be, I suppose, friends with somebody like me because, you know, of that, the issue of that sometimes you just have to lock yourself away and not really want to actually have conversation with a lot of people. So this is such a great outlet for me. You know, podcasting and yarning and knitting and crochet has become so much more than just an activity for me. It really is something that helps to keep me in a nice place. It helps to calm me if I'm feeling really stressed and anxious, and it allows me to engage in relationships and form friendships with people, I guess, on my terms, in the sense of that I still do feel a little bit, you know, secure, and I don't feel quite so vulnerable. And so that they are the things really that yarn means to me. Obviously, it's not actually. I don't actually think I mentioned that it's actually about the products that you make, because for me it's so much more than that. And so I want to encourage any other podcasters out there that if you are watching this, please, you know, and you feel like you want to make an episode, a short episode to put on your channel as well about what yarn means to you. And it is such a great way to be proactive in the community, talking about, you know, what feelings yarn invokes for us. So that's the first part of the episode. The second part is that I wanted to talk to you about my very first visit to any sort of yarn festival. So like I mentioned last Sunday, bit of a write-off, anxiety was really high, and my husband said to me sort of mid-morning, hey, you know what, let's get out, let's go for a drive. And I had mentioned to him that there was this yarn festival on, and it was probably about an hour and 15 minutes from where we lived. But I wasn't going to be able to go because I already had a commitment, a ministry commitment, and then that didn't happen. So all of a sudden I actually did have a few hours where I could go. So off we went in the car, packed the two little ones in the car, and we went. And so it was called Fibrefest. And I actually kept the, you know, the little map thing that they give you. So this was, I believe, the first year that Fibrefest was on. So it's only very new. So these were some of the people that were there, which was, you know, so I thought reasonably, you know, it was a good turnout, like a good array of vendors. That's the word I was thinking of. At a brand new event. Next year they are actually going to make the event a 2-day event. So this year it was just a 1 day on a Sunday, but next year, like I said, 2 days. And it was at the most stunning location. And I think it played to the fact that yarning and knitting and all is so sensory, because it was this beautiful convent, and it was like there was like vendors, you know, speckled around the gardens that were divine, and in some of the rooms in the convent that were also so beautiful, like the high ceilings and the intricate cornice work and things up on the roof was just simply stunning. It actually, as I was walking in to the venue, it took my breath away. Like I literally just felt this. It was so beautiful, and I will insert some pictures of the grounds and simply how stunning it was here, so you can see as well. So anyway, so we walked in, and I sort of had a plan. No, I didn't really have a plan. It was so overwhelming, I've got to say. Like, I looked at the exhibitor list and I sort of planned where I was going to go, but there was just people everywhere, and it was it was a little bit overwhelming, and I've watched so many videos this past week of other podcasters that have come back from Rhinebeck, which is obviously a huge sheep and wool festival in the States. And while our little Fibrefest is nothing quite as hugely on the scale of Rhinebeck for my friends in the States, it certainly is a big festival, and I think it's going to grow as the years go on, and it's going to be quite an event that people will put in their calendar and, you know, go year after year after year and watch it grow, and it will be this lovely thing. So I must say, I walked into this little, this room. It was called a conservatory, and it was just manic. There were people everywhere. And I've got to tell you, I don't know, sorry for the crinkling, I don't know if there actually is a sort of etiquette that happens at fibre festivals, but let me tell you, in this conservatory when I walked in, mate, there was no rules. People, women, were like arms out, balls out, doing it. Like, get out of the way, I'm going for my yarn. And I can 100% appreciate that, because if you are on a mission, you know exactly what you want, you are like there, you're in like Flynn, it's happening, I get it. But I was like having major anxiety, even just in the room, thinking, oh my gosh, like we are like this. You know, like there was no elbow room. You were sardines squished next to each other. So, needless to say, my husband and our 2 kids hightailed it out the front and said, we'll just wait out here. There was like snacks and food and vending trucks and like food trucks and things. So they were quite happy, settled. So I made my way into Skein Sisters, which is a brand new yarny shop in Sydney that's opened up, and I've not actually been there, so it's probably about, that might be probably an hour and a half maybe south, I suppose, from where I live. So I've not actually made the trek there. So it was really lovely that they were there, because I actually got to meet the ladies, and well, I when I say I met them, I actually just said hello, and it was really lovely. You know, their stock looked lovely. I'm sure that their shop would be just as beautiful, and you know, but anyway, so my first acquisition is my very first Hedgehog Fibres skein. Now, this is totally blowing out, but it is the teacup colourway, and I watched Kate from Milk Thistle Fibre Arts podcast. I will leave her information below as well. She spoke quite a few episodes back when I discovered her, and I'm sure this is what happens to a lot of people. You sort of binge watch, like it's like a series then, isn't it? So in one of her previous podcasts, she made a beautiful pair of socks using the Hedgehog Fibres teacup colourway. And I just loved it. I loved how it's a really cream base, but there's these little specks of like hot pink. You can't really see very well. I'm sorry, guys. Hot pink. That's probably a bit better. And there's like chocolate. Really beautiful. And so and this is their blue-faced Leicester wool, 80% wool, 20% nylon. So I think I sort of have decided that I really love an 80-20 base, so 80% wool, 20% nylon. It's really nice and plush and lovely. But anyway, so I was super excited because, and just so we're clear, you better believe that this was the last skein of teacup colourway on the shelf. And yes, I went like a crazy lady and grabbed it. And it was almost like I nearly wanted to shove it down my top like this and just wait for the lady to say, yes, it's your turn to come up and pay. Because I'm like, no one's going to stick their hands down my shirt and try and grab this skein of yarn because I love it that much, right? That was me. So I bought this skein from hedgehog fibers. So this was from Skein Sisters, and I believe that they do sell their hedgehog fibers yarn on their website. So this was $31 for a skein of hedgehog. So I was pretty excited because I've never actually knit with hedgehog fibers before, and so I was very excited to be able to try it and not have to pay postage and remortgage my house, because the next treat that I bought myself, and I am so excited about this yarn, oh my gosh, like really, this is from the beautiful Fiber Lily, Kylie. So it was so amazing. When I went to her stand, she recognized me, it's so funny. Like, I'm like, oh, she goes, oh, is it Ali? And I'm like, yeah. Wow. It's exciting, hey, that someone recognizes you. But anyway, this is her Aussie sock, which is also an 80-20. So 80% Australian superwash merino, 20% nylon. And this is called Eucalyptus Blush. And it is like all sorts of divine. There's like limes and hot pink and navy blue and burgundies and orange. It is absolutely delicious. So I bought this. And as well, the other thing that I did buy, I was very reserved, but this was also from Kylie's stand, is her Sugar Fairy colorway. And so this is so beautiful. It actually reminds me of the mint julep colorway that Levi mentioned and absolutely loves on his podcast from Mitchell's Creation. And it's just really lovely. Seriously, what the heck? I am never going to podcast from here again. Oh my gosh, it is a nightmare. But let's just soldier on, because we're nearly there, and just take a breath. Right. Let's go. So this is really beautiful. It's like a turquoise. It's not really turquoise, sorry. It's like a mint. And it is so beautiful. And I actually went over to look at Mitchell's Creations website to purchase, because Levi, the color was gorgeous, and it really was so pretty, but it was going to be like $60 or something Australian by the time we posted from the States. So, and while that's totally fine, I'm happy to pay that. But I was super pumped and excited when I was toddling along at the Fibre Festival. I'm like, it's like my own little version of mint julep. I'm totally going to buy it. So they were the 3 purchases that I made. I must say it was very overwhelming. I was probably in and out in about less than an hour. So if that gives you a bit of an idea, I literally was like, yep, okay, I'm going now. And I had sort of already planned in my head that I didn't want to, I didn't really have any projects in mind that I was searching for yarn for. And so I wanted to, and mostly it was because it was such a spur of the moment thing. I just thought if I can get a couple of sock yarns, I will make. I actually wanted a sock yarn, one sock yarn that I was going to sort of mentally remember that as my Fibrefest 2017 colorway, which I will use the beautiful eucalyptus brush from Fiber Lily, and I'm going to make some socks for me, and they'll be my Fibrefest socks. So so I didn't really buy a huge amount, but I bought enough, and it sort of it gave me an opportunity to go, and it was actually the first time that I got to see somebody actually spinning yarn. There was sort of a display of lovely ladies that were there spinning yarn on a wheel, and it was so interesting. I could have sat there and watched them, I think, for like the rest of the day. It was so calming and peaceful, just watching them, as they were going. And so it was really awesome to see. And so like that is pretty much the episode. And I know it's probably a bit shorter than normal, and it is certainly faster in that I err on the side of a 2-week turnaround for podcasting, but I was just so inspired by Levi's episode that I wanted to put together my own episode. And I'm sure that the glare from the sun might be a little bit distracting, and you know, it's a little bit of a throw together type of episode, but it was one that I really wanted to put together and put out there because I am very, very aware of the amazing blessing that yarn and the community that has formed around me through knitting and crochet and yarn has been such a blessing. So I wanted to just really put that out there to people that, you know, if you are thinking about podcasting, hit that record button and get going. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy schmancy. People are going to watch. People are going to love it. You know, we don't have to always think that we've got to put our, you know, highlight reel forward of things. We can be real. We can do messy life together. And creative fun is just that. It's almost like, I guess, how colours play together. People play, you know, people's hearts play together. And you connect with people that genuinely really have your best interest at heart. And I have been absolutely overwhelmed and blessed with the amazing amount of community that I have met as well through the yarn community. So I hope this episode finds you well. If you would love to connect with me, please, you can comment below the video. That would be awesome. But also come and find me over on Instagram. I'll leave the information as well here, and I am most active on there. And so I hope that you have an amazing day wherever you are. Be blessed. Keep crafting, and I'll talk